Again, just keep them on your desk. All right. So we finished up with the end of Elijah's ministry, him being taken to heaven, and the beginning of Elisha's ministry. And now we'll go on to see the beginnings of Elisha's ministry. We saw a few things, but today we see 3 different wonders that God worked through Elisha. So 2 Kings chapter 2, beginning at verse 18 is where we left off, and that's where we want to begin. 2 Kings chapter 2, beginning at verse 18. And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, this is Elisha, he said unto them, Did I not say unto you, Go not? And the men of the city said unto Elisha, Behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground barren. And he said, Bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein. And they brought it to him. And he went forth unto the spring of the waters, and cast the salt in there, and said, Thus saith the Lord, I have healed these waters. There shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha, which he spake. And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And he turned back, and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tare 42 children of them. And he went from thence to Mount Carmel, and from thence he returned to Samaria. So that double portion of the Spirit begins to work immediately. Elisha is able to do great wonders by the power of God immediately. And one of the first ones that we see here is the healing of the waters. He's still in Jericho. He stayed there for a while. A beautiful city, and the people point that out. But they have a problem. The wells, the springs where the people get the water from the city, something is wrong with it. It's no good. The water was giving them troubles. If flocks probably ate the water, the animals would become sick and die. Maybe if mothers gave the water to their young children, they too would die. Okay? So that's a problem. So Elisha goes to the spring, the place where the source of the waters are, where it's coming out of the ground. And he takes a new cruse, in other words, some type of jar, and he takes the salt, okay, and he heals the waters. Okay. Why use salt? Well, the salt in and of itself did not heal the waters. God healed the waters. The salt was just an outward symbolic picture for the people there, but it's also a picture for us. Salt is a seasoning. It's something you add to your meat. Maybe your vegetables. You don't like all of your vegetables so much from time to time, so the more salt, the merrier, right? Helps it. Put a little bit on different foods. Okay? Salt is a seasoning. And the seasoning was used on the waters as a picture of the Lord seasoning them, of the Lord healing them, making them be able to be healed. Okay? So that's the first thing that we see here at Jericho. Then on his way out of the city, he goes and he follows basically the paths that he probably took there with Elijah. And he goes on to Bethel, a city. And as he climbed up the heights from Jericho to the Bethel in the hill country, there was a band of young people, some little children, maybe mainly young boys. And they came out with one purpose. Their purpose was to mock this man of God. Okay? Now, if you remember something, there's a few things about Bethel. Bethel was the home of one of the golden calves that Jeroboam had set up, if you remember that. Okay? So, it tells you a little bit of something about probably the godliness of the people in that city. But needless to say, these young children come out and they are around Elisha, and they begin to say to him, "Go up, thou bald head! Go up, thou bald head!" Now, we maybe focus on the bald head. We don't like our physical appearances to be pointed out to us. And so, we have to be careful there because, mom and dad might say, "Hey, you guys can't take offense to that so easily. Get a little bit thicker skin." So isn't that what we should say to Elisha here? Elisha, just get some thicker skin. You're bald. Deal with it. Okay? It's how God made you. Well, all the children shouldn't be mocking. None of us should mock someone else or make fun of someone else because of how they look. That's sinful and wicked, and we know it hurts when someone does it to us. So there's no reason for us to do it to another. But especially what these children are doing when they say, "Go up, thou bald head," they're mocking, making light of, making fun of the fact of Elijah's being taken to heaven. If your master can do it, why don't you do it if you're so powerful and so good? They are mocking Elijah's glorious ascent to heaven. They're making fun of Elisha through the godly work that God had done in Elijah by taking Elijah up to heaven. In that sense, these young children are mocking God. Again, we focus on the bald head. We need to focus on the mockery of God. Go up, thou bald head. That aspect of it. Okay? So, again, if somebody made fun of us, we might maybe not be brave enough to say it to their face, but as we walk away, we might turn back and mutter something, fool, say whatever unkind, unnice words. So again, we kind of focus on that with Elisha. He's just upset that he was called bald, so as he's walking away, he calls down a harsh curse on these children. But that's not the case again. Elisha, as he's walking away, he does call down a harsh curse. But again, it's because they mocked the Lord, and he calls the Lord to come here and take care of these children. He doesn't do it in anger. He doesn't do it to revenge. He calls down the Lord because these young people are making fun of the Lord. And so the Lord sends 2 she-bears to kill 42 of them. A wonder, a miracle. 2 Kings chapter 3. We need to pick up our reading there. We'll see about some troubles with the country of Moab. So, chapter 3. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, we might call him Joram, but anyways, Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. And he wrought evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the image of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he cleaved unto the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin, and he departed not therefrom. And Mesha, the king of Moab, was a sheep shearer, and rendered unto the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams with the wool. But it came to pass, when Ahab was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. And Jehoram went out of Samaria the same time and numbered all Israel. So, Israel had conquered Moab. Part of Moab's payment for not being destroyed was you have to pay taxes every year in animals. And now the king of Moab refuses. He says, I will not pay those taxes. Okay? I will not pay them. Okay? So that's what's going on here. The people of Moab are rebelling. They should be paying this. And so that's not going to make King Joram very happy. Verse 7. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab up to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thy people, and my horses as thy horses. And he said, Which way shall we go up? And he answered, The way through the wilderness of Edom. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom. So a third one joins in. And they fetched a compass of 7 days' journey, and there was no water for the host and the cattle that followed them. And the king of Israel said, Alas, that the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. So, Jehoram needs a larger army. He asks King Jehoshaphat from Judah to come help him. King Jehoshaphat foolishly said yes, and he comes with them. Maybe he struggled with, I don't want to go, I should go, shouldn't go. But he went with nevertheless, which was wrong in the sight of God, because here you have the ungodly yoking themselves together with the godly. So Joram asked Jehoshaphat, they get together, well, which way shall we go? And they say, well, let's march this way. Let's go through Edom. So they go through Edom, and while going, they also persuade the king of Edom to come with them. Now they have a much larger army, and all of three of them hate Moab anyway, so this is a perfect opportunity to get together. Well, after they marched for 7 days, they came to a place where there was no water for the soldiers or the animals, and now they're concerned. They're in desert-like country. Are we going to live, or are we going to die of starvation out here? Not starvation. We're going to die of lack of water. Okay? So, what happens? Well, verse 11. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord of him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water on the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, nay, for the Lord hath called these three kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. And Elisha said, as the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat the king of Judah, I would not look toward thee nor see thee. But now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass when the minstrel played that the hand of the Lord came upon him. And he said, thus saith the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. For thus saith the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet the valley shall be filled with water, that ye may drink, both ye and your cattle and your beasts. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will deliver the Moabites also into your hand, and ye shall smite every fenced city and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all wells of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. And it came to pass in the morning, when the meat offerings was behold, there came water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. So, Jehoshaphat trusts in the Lord, and he asks, is there not a prophet that can help us? We're here 7 days journey out into the wilderness. We're stranded. We've got no water. Maybe a prophet of God can help us. Is there anyone here? And of course, Elisha was there. He knew who Elisha was, and he directed the men to where Elisha could be found. The three kings didn't ask Elisha to come to them. They went to Elisha. Now, King Jehoshaphat, who had joined this alliance, he's the one that actually stands before Elisha, and Elisha is angry and upset with him. What are you doing with these two other wicked, foolish men? Look at what King Joram has done. What are you doing here? However, for the sake of Jehoshaphat and the God-fearing people of Judah, the Lord says he will help them. Okay? Now Elisha here he's so upset, he's so distraught about the fact that King Jehoshaphat would even dare come to join these two together. He couldn't concentrate on anything, so he called for a minstrel, similar to King Saul, calling for a minstrel. A minstrel comes in on a harp usually and plays some beautiful music to help soothe and calm the soul. Listening to music, right kind of music, can help us do that. Music has a way of working on our emotions, and it can calm us. And so that's what happens here. Elisha is calmed. He's put into the proper frame of mind to receive the words from the Lord. That's another reason why in our worship service we usually have music playing before the service for maybe 10-15 minutes to help us get our minds into the proper way of worshiping the Lord. So the minstrel plays, Elisha becomes quiet. So you can see this minstrel and what happens when it's played, the minstrel plays, is much different from when David played. Obviously David played for Saul and we had spears and swords thrown at him. This minstrel plays and it calms down Elisha. God is at work here. Okay? Anyways, God tells him, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go out into the valley out there and you are going to send your armies and the men out there and they're going to dig ditches all day today. And the Lord's going to do a miracle. There will be no rain, there will be no dew, there will be nothing. But in the morning after you offer the sacrifice, look out into that field or into the valley and you will see it filled with water in those ditches. And that's exactly what happens. Early the next morning, the ditches are filled with water so that the water would save the lives of these three armies. The men would be able to get water to drink and give some to their animals. But God does something else here too. Verse 21. And when all the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them, and they gathered all that were able to put on armor and upward and stood in the border, and they rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone upon the water, and the Moabites saw the water on the other side as red as blood. And they said, "This is blood. The kings," meaning the three other kings, "have surely slain, and they have smitten one another. Now therefore, Moab, to the spoil." And when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled before them. But they went forward, smiting the Moabites, even in their country. And they beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land cast every man his stone, and filled it. And they stopped all the wells with water, and fell on all the good ones. Only in Kirahaseth left they the stones thereof, howbeit the slingers went about it, and smote it. And when the king of Moab saw that the battle was too sore for him, he took with him 700 men that drew swords to break through even unto the king of Edom, but they could not. And he took his eldest son that should have reigned in his stead, and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall. And there was great indignation against Israel. And they departed from him and returned to their own land. So the Israelites, the Edomites, and the men of Judah, they look out and they see the water in those ditches, and they know that they won't be thirsty. The Moabites, meanwhile, they wake up, and again, now the world will say, well, it's because the way the sun was reflecting in the morning, it was a red sun that morning, so it just reflected off the water. No, God made the water look to them like blood. And what did they think? Oh, they thought, we knew those Edomites couldn't get along with the Israelites and the men of Judah. They were all going to hate each other. They all fought each other. They killed each other. And so now that water, it's not water out there, it's blood everywhere. Quick, men, to the fields. Let's get the spoils. Let's get their swords and their gold and whatever things we can find out there and take it for ourselves. And when they go out there, they find themselves in the midst of the camp of Israel all of a sudden. And the Lord makes it so that the Israelites can kill them and destroy them. Okay? So the people of Moab turn around, they try to hightail it out of there, and many of them have trouble. They are killed, they are destroyed. Their cities and their wells are destroyed. And the king, he does a foolish, sickening thing. While he's running, he takes his only son, or a son, don't know if it's only, but he takes his son, who was to succeed him as king, and he offers him on an altar. He takes his own son and kills him, burns him. In horror, the men of Israel and Judah can't even look, and they have to return to their own countries. It was so sickening for them to see that. Okay? But that's something that we can remember. That even in the small little amount of Israelites who are left who are godly, God is still pleased to care for them and to watch over them. God will preserve us too. Same promise that He had for the people of Israel, He has for us too. That He will be faithful to us, that He will give us all things so that we may glory in the Lord. So, 3 miracles that Elisha has a hand in, or wonders. The wonder of the water being made able to drink from it. The wonder of the she-bears coming out of the woods to kill those young mockers. And the wonder of the water looking like blood so that God could give the victory to the Israelites.